spirit speaking, truth seeking, heart reaching, knowledge leaking, seed sowing, harvest reaping, man of meager means. I have yet to leave, I'm still breathing. To quit, I have no reason. I mean, I'm asleep, but I be trying to live my dreams. I cannot even act if it's all easy. Either you gon' do it or you don't. Really, it ain't no in between. Baby, you can ask the sun. It's an everyday thing. Consistency in your routine is how you bring reality. Working like a slave, that's how I made this masterpiece. Living like a god, I lay at night, I rest in peace. They remember me, but I am
mypdfbooks.com. That's books with a Z.
Islam, Islam, Islam. Peace and love. And welcome to another BBT Holy Day Book Club reading. So glad to be here with another BBT Holy Day Book Club reading. I first like to just say Islam, peace and love to all those who are going to be able to tune in tonight for a quick book club reading. And I like to start our book club tonight with our Holy American Moorish, our Moorish American prayer. Get everything going with our Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is our protector, our guide, and our salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Shalom Aleichem, Ayah Esha Ayah, Islam, Amen, peace, love, and illumination. So, again, just welcome to another BBT Holy Day Book Club reading here at the Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School. We provide so much for the community here on this internet. On Friday nights, we have our book club reading, and please don't miss our weekends. Here at the BBT on Saturday and Sunday, we work out in the mornings, and we hold Saturday adapt class and Sunday school this Sunday. But on tonight, we are doing our book club, and this book club tonight, just a second to get what I need set up. Shout out to everyone who's tuned in tonight. Islam and love. I wanted to make sure we introduced you to just something different here at the Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School. We are a temple and school of more science. And one may ask the question, well, what is that? Visit our website, bbtsciencetemple.com, and we have a bunch of information there. If you're first now being introduced to yourself and studies on yourself and more science and different things that you weren't exposed to, this bbtsciencetemple.com website will provide you with a lot of information on different things, including things like the mission of the Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School, and some history on the organization. But right here on the home page, we'll start spirit, mind, body, divine, creed, and nationality. Our commitment to health and well-being focuses on the whole you and extends to exclusive benefits and perks from our business partners, making your association not just a transaction, but a relationship of growth. With us, you're not just a donor, you're part of a community that believes in enhancing lives and making each day exceptional by applied mathematics. And you get a lot with the Burning Bush. With us being an organization, your $40 contribution to our temple and school is tax exempt, and you will receive a tax exempt receipt with all donations that you place to the Burning Bush with anything that you may see us doing. And everything helps. That's the only way to build a community. So with our tax dollars that a lot of us are giving away willingly to Uncle Sam. You can support something real like the BBT, and with just a $40 contribution to this cause, will help to build a brighter, more enlightened community, one step closer to one world of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And there's so much more on our website about the Burning Bush Tabernacle, our mission. There's Sheet, Kari and his father, our elders, founder of the BBT, our mapping guide, our mission, facts about more science, just a great place to go and visit. If you're gonna come by and frequent the Burning Bush Tabernacle and what we have going on here, and the different things that we do online, the different classes that we do in our book clubs and things. So please don't hesitate to visit our website, bbtsciencetemple.com as well. So there's plenty there for you. Islam. So with that, we'll get off of that and we'll get to something else. So on tonight's book club reading, what I wanted to do a little bit was just go over really history of, melanated people in America. A lot of students are going back to school, or a lot of our children are going back to school. And this semester, a lot of the students they're going to be learning tons of different things in school this year. And I think that it's always good for everything that our students and our kids, our children are learning, that they have, other areas of research to be able to serve as comparison to different things that they're going to learn this year. For instance, a lot of melanated children, Moorish children, misnomer Black and African American, they're going to be learning a lot of different things about themselves from someone else's pen or someone who looks just like them. They're going to hear a lot. One book that we have is called World Tartarians. Oh, hold up, give me a second. I need to share my screen. right, I'm gonna stop sharing, and then I'm gonna share it again, and then I'm gonna get on it. All right, so here we are. Okay, this is where we are tonight for our book club. Something that I think the Morris children, the melanated children, all of the children, who are gonna be learning different things, as it relates to your misnomer African American and Black history, and how it's gonna be said that certain groups of people arrived to the Americas. You're gonna hear certain things this year in your Black history or African American history or different history classes. So the one World Tartarian also being just an ancient name, a name that was used, to describe a group of people all over the world. So Tartarians, but in this book though that we have here at the Burning Bush, and there's a couple different ways you can reach us through email, of course, but you can also research us or reach out to us at our websites, mypdfbooks.com. That's books with a Z. Our Sheik of the Temple, Sheik Kareem Goodman El Bey. That's been his life, is his mission. Just the knowledge. The library that we have here at the Burning Bush Tabernacle that Sheik has collected over his many years is tops. There's not a library around that the Burning Bush Tabernacle has, and works like this is just one of many that you can find over at mypdfbooks.com for the book club tonight. If you don't have your copy of One World Tartarians, you can also visit our physical binded book website for books, rare books, expensive books that you'll see, very expensive books online. That's bindedbooks.com. So mypdfbooks.com, bindedbooks.com, your preference, mypdfbooks.com. It will be a PDF version of the book, electronic digital copy. You can pull it up on your cell phone or your tablet. So this year, a lot of the children in school, when they go to their Black history classes and their African American history classes, they're going to learn different things. But one thing that they're going to learn that you've probably heard of is the transatlantic slave trade, out of Africa, the transatlantic slave trade. Sure, everybody's heard of the transatlantic slave trade and what they said, the transatlantic slave trade. So you're going to learn one thing about the transatlantic slave trade this year at school. This is for all my students, all of our children. You're going to learn something, but you should always have something to compare to. And that's what Sheik, Kareem, that's what we're about. That's what Sheik is about. Always having something to compare to. As far as the research, we have to. This year, students, you must look at the classes that you're taking differently. That's one thing that we weren't really taught when we were growing up. My age and older, a lot of us, to where now you have to look at education a certain way. What are you being taught? And you need to always take it serious what you're being taught and what someone is putting in front of you. So this year, in your classes that you're taking, when they tell you about Black history, what they say is Black history or African American history or world history or the transatlantic slave trade, the out of Africa, I want you to be able to hear something on our book club tonight. It won't be too long tonight, but it's just something that I think you could kind of take with you and just do further research on as you go amongst your classes this year. Especially, if you're melanated and you sit in one of these classes, whether you're in high school, middle school, whether you're in elementary school, and what they tell you is this thing here represents you and people who look like you. So we'll just get a little bit into this. And again, this is our BBT Holy Day Book Club reading. It's Friday night, Holy Day. And on tonight's book club, we're just kind of touching bases on with the students who will be going to school this year. You have to have a total different mindset about school this year. That's just not somewhere that you're going. You know, you can't just look at it as somewhere that you're going. You know, you're going there and you're being told things, and then you look into those things that you're being told. It should be serious. You should take it serious. It should be important. Never just let anyone say anything to you and tell you anything. That's what you need to know this year. Don't just allow someone to give you information, what they say as knowledge, and you just take that as face value. We've been taking it as face value. That's been the case. But this year, we want to try to focus on taking it a different way when we're providing information when they give it to you in a book and things. So tonight, we'll go over one of the things that they'll talk to you about, the transatlantic slave trade in your Black history classes. And this is from the One World Tartarians. So all students, you can get it straight from us here at the BBT, your local bookstore. You can get anything that you're learning in school this year straight from us, the Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School. I'm in St. Louis. We all over the place, though. Our Sheik is in Arizona. We in Flint. We in California. We're on the East Coast. We're in the South. We're in the Midwest. So libraries need to be important and popular, you know, and go viral all the time. So the Burning Bush Tabernacle, you'll be able to get, you know, a lot of different books that you probably won't be exposed to at school this year. And this is only if you're actually interested in knowing who you are, understanding who you are. If you don't care, then it's not going to be important and you're going to just focus on whatever you want to focus on this school year. But that's what you do every school year. So this school year, we want to just take education serious and we want to, you know, have fun and do our thing like we do. But we want to also just take education serious this year. And everything that we're being told, we want to make sure we research. That's what we want to make sure we do. And we want to make sure we just compare. So we'll get into it. So this is what they like to say, or how the story goes about the transatlantic slave trade, the out of Africa. This is what they were saying. This is how the story goes. Let's get into it a little bit. So some 12.5 million Africans were taken from their homes and forced aboard slave ships that were destined for the New World. That's what they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you that about 12.5 million Africans were so-called taken from their homes and forced aboard slave ships that were destined for the New World. And about 10.7, they'll say, people survived the horrors of the Middle Passages between 1526 and 1866. And I really want you to research, as we just pause for the call per se, Middle Passage. So research Middle Passage. So about 10.7 million people survived the horrors of the Middle Passage, they say, between 1526 and 1866, only to end up in bondage on sugar, rice, cotton, and tobacco plantations throughout the Americas and the Caribbean. The transatlantic slave trade, so-called, was the largest forced migration in history, is what you're going to learn in your classes most likely this year with these certain classes you take about Black history and misnomer African American history. They're going to say that the transatlantic slave trade was the largest forced migration in history, and that the misnomered Black people are indigenous to the Americas. and that the misnomer Black Native Americans are not a result of the so-called Red Indian, the mixing with the so-called slaves, but the so-called Red Indians comes from the mixing with the European colonists per se, and the Asians that were in America before Columbus. So you'll learn a lot of different things, but keep that in mind. The first Native Americans were Mongolian Tartarians. Though there was someone in history called Herskovits, an anthropologist of European descent. He was one of the originators of the out of Africa theory. And this is important to know. So if you're going to we're learning something here, right, about misnomer African American history or Black history. What they're saying to you, or what they will say, is that one of the originators of the so-called out of Africa theory was a European anthropologist. Okay. So this person, Herskovits, what they're saying, he never had any historical or archaeological or anthropological proof that the misnomer Black people of the Americas ever derived from West and North Africa. So if it's being shown that he had no proof whatsoever, no historical proof, his field, which was so-called anthropology, he had no proof from that, no archaeological proof, that what he was trying to say, the misnomer Black person came from a certain place. There was no proof that that group of people he labeled came from the so-called West and North Africa. And Herskovits crafted the theory that the misnomer Blacks arrived in America from the so-called transatlantic slave trade. So the whole class, or a lot of these classes, are based on a theory, is what we just need to understand, that was made up. Let's just say that, okay? Made up theory from someone who didn't look like the people. This is what the writer of World Tartarians is of European descent. So you would say this is from a certain type of pen, and he's saying these things about people that look like him. So he says that all of these classes, in a way, the class that you might be taking, African American history and Black history classes, and different classes that you could just be introduced to these things, it's all made up from a fake, false, is disproven theories, and just theories. So let's just keep that in mind. But he crafted these theories that the misnomer Blacks arrived in America from the transatlantic slave trade, which allegedly brought in more than 10 million African slaves, according to the National Archives of Spain and the Smithsonian records. So according to the National Archives of Spain and the Smithsonian records, this is all documented history. This is nothing that just this individual who gathered this information is saying, or anyone else. This is recognized as, this is who folks think are heavy, and they are the keepers of records and things. The National Archives of Spain and the Smithsonian records, they're saying that there is no evidence to prove that 70,000 ships with so-called Black Africans ever sailed to the Americas. Now that's what the Smithsonian is saying as well. So that individual, Herskovits, he carried out the teachings of his mentor, Franz Boas, to make the original copper colored races of the Americas inferior and the European presence superior. So do we see that? He's saying that what they were trying to do was they were trying to make the original copper colored races of the Americas inferior and the European presence superior. The one thing that I want to say is if you look up, and this is just for anybody that's going to be in school or anyone, real old dictionaries like the Webster's, there's one like 1828, Webster's, Webster's dictionary. If you look at the 1828 Webster's dictionary, it states, if you look up the word American, it's going to say exactly what this writer just said. So it says that America is the copper colored races that were found here by the Europeans. But, in more modern terms, it relates to just Europeans, anyone just born here in Americas. But initially, and just in general, Americans are copper colored races. These are, olive tone, brown, if anything, different shades of brown. Okay. So that's one thing that I want you to just keep in your hippocampus and in your mind as you navigate in life in general. Okay. Just the Americans and old dictionaries in general, that what they're saying is the Americans were copper colored races. If your skin is brown, you consider yourself, you are melanated. All right. You are of copper color. You are different shades of brown, and we are Americans. We born here. You weren't born in Africa. You were born in America. Right. So the thought of some of these African Black slavery type classes when they're teaching Moorish children and melanated children that they are Black people and they are African Americans, what they're trying to say is that they're trying to tell them that they're inferior. That's no disrespect, but that's what the education, that's what a lot of these schools are telling them. Okay. It's telling them that they're inferior and Europeans are superior. But before this time, Blacks coming from Africa through the so-called transatlantic slave trade story, it wasn't even real. So Horskowitz, Melville's, his work had been fragmented and used as propaganda by writers like Harold Collinger and Alex Haley. And I know a lot of you may not know Harold Collinger, but Alex Haley, if you take an African-American history class, like I was a part of when I was in high school, I took that class. And what they do in that class, one of the biggest points of the class, I mean, they just, number one, they're showing me and everyone who looks like me in the classroom, chattel slavery, barely clothed, obviously a lot of dependency. There's a lot of different, issues with Roots. But the thing with Roots is it wasn't even real. Roots, Alex Haley, that whole narrative was based on a book with Mr. Harold Collinger. It's called, I believe it was the African, I believe, where the whole thing was fake. But it further perpetuated the myth of the transatlantic slave trade, the movie Roots. Americans were the Moors, the Moorish people, and they were not brought here on ships. So instead, they were enslaved right here on their own lands, so-called. If they were brought on ships, the numbers are extremely exaggerated. And this is the part, if you are taking some of the classes, I want you to, pay attention to this part, and then we'll speed up and we'll end our book club for tonight. But this is the main part that a lot of children who are misnomer Black and African Americans, you're going to read some of this semester. You were told some of this, and even to some of our adults, you're going to hear this, and it just made sense. But I want you to hear it again maybe with a different ear, or look at it with a different eye per se, and let me know, do you really feel like it makes sense? You know, if you heard this as a child and you're an adult now in your 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s, I want you to really look yourself in the mirror. If you look just like me, copper color, we were just reading about it. Where this is really making sense to you. Let me know if you feel like this is making sense. So it was published that 15 to 20 million, all right, and we talking about million. It was published that 15 to 20 million slaves arrived in the Americas between 1540 and 1850 over a 310-year period. And this is according to the U.S. history books, which you'll be reading this year in school, most likely. The Stewart synopsis points out a few questions that should be examined. Over a period of 300 years, is it fair to say that 60,000 slaves were transported annually to the Americas, or has the transportation of slaves to the Americas been one big myth? That's a question. Another question is, the largest seagoing vessel carried 400 slaves. That's what they said. But not all of the ships were that large, okay? And then number 3, time of passage was, they said 3 to 4 months. This is what they said. That means, so what that means is 200 ships per year would have to travel carrying 300 people. One ship could make 3 passages per year. The Transatlantic slave trade database says that there were 1,100 to 1,400 voyages made over that 300-year period. If that is the case, and each ship carried 400 people, the total number would be 560,000 so-called Africans were transported. So of course it's not adding up. So we already know that over 83% of Americans, of all Americans, had so-called African ancestry. And they said they were Native American, they had Native American blood. And did Native American tribes help so-called slaves escape, or were Americans with African ancestry already part of the native so-called Native American nations? After 20 years, the Royal Adventurer, they had 15 ships, they said, transported between 90,000 to 100,000 so-called slaves. All right, but 90,000 to 100,000 with 15 ships with 20 years, that's not 15 to 20 million so-called slaves that they said were brought here to the Americas. So doesn't that leave a little over 14 to 19 million people not accounted for? All right, so the calculated median of 15 to 20 million would be 17.5 million. If we divide that by what they said was on each so-called slave ship, which was 400 so-called, the largest were 400, that comes out to be 43,750 trips. Is right here. Can you show me? Can you show? Can we find anywhere where it says that many trips happen? So that's just, I mean, you're going to learn a lot of different things this year. But I think something like this is something that you may not hear in school this year. Some schools, some people, at home and different things, and on your own, you may find time and be introduced or initiated into this wisdom. But a lot of what we're given our children are given in school is going to some of that is going to be lies. So when we break it down and we look at it, a lot of things just won't be adding up. A lot of things just won't be adding up. All right. So this was short. This wasn't too heavy, wasn't too much, but it may have been something that if you heard it, great. And hopefully you passing that wisdom down to those who look like you and everyone. So we know the truth. But if it's not, hopefully you can continue to do research, further research on this topic of yourself and more. Because something like this, this information and this knowledge about yourself and what they're saying and what they say, the people who look like you, what that history was, you know, it's great to be associated with real history, because what you'll learn this year isn't real history. But information like this and other information, because again, this is just a little bit. This is a European gathered this information. So if you're in certain circles, this is basic information. It's just a lot of misnomer, a lot of Moors, misnomer Black people. The history of them that we were given is a history that was the beginning of this reading, where we were, we've given stories about millions of people who look like us being brought from other areas. And there's no way that this group of people were actually from this area, and that, you have to dig deeper with the wisdom that you have. And this is just something that we need to do in general as a people. And the Burning Bush Tabernacle, Sheikh Kyrie Goodman, El Bay, the Burning Bush Tabernacle, what Sheikh has here, what we're doing, and we're learning every single day. I just want to make sure that students who are going to be in school this year, you truly just understand that knowledge is power, and having the right knowledge is power. And if you're in school and you think that you some Black person or African American, you need to understand that that's not how to identify. That's not that identification, that group, that there's something called human rights and being a part of the human family. And you should really research it. And you should, and you should really come to the Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School and learned under the Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School, Sheikh Kyrie Goodman, El Bay. Learn under the Burning Bush, because the information and the knowledge that we have here is just this. And there's so many other different areas that we learn and through daily action and application on just perfecting ourselves in business and in our lives. But when it comes to history and who you are, the Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School will introduce you to books like this, but by even older works. You might go online, you might have a book, that you see online, or you see people talking about on TikTok and other platforms that may cost thousands of dollars. As a member or a supporter of the Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School at mypdfbooks.com and bindingbooks.com, you have access to those books and more. So I hope as a student, this here specifically, if you were a misnomer, if you're a melanated student, you're going to be going back to school this year. This book here and others just like it will really give you a chance to compare what they're going to be teaching you in your class, what they're going to be teaching you in your African American history class after they show you roots. You know, somebody might ask, well, what does it really mean? You know, so, okay. Yep. I read that in that book. Well, it has to mean something to you. It definitely has to mean something to you. That's number one. It has to mean something to you. Because if it doesn't mean anything to you, then you're already losing. You already losing. So shout out to all of the students this year. Shout out to just the chance to learn real history about yourself and what other melanated individuals who look like you, what we have accomplished in history, especially in the Americas and all over the world. Don't be allowed this year, to be called anything outside of your name. Don't allow anybody, to call you anything out of your name, outside of your name. And understand, what your culture is really about. Will you get it this year with the things that we learn at school, in our schools and our public schools and things? Maybe not, but there's other avenues to get to deeper understandings of who you are. And the Burning Bush Tabernacle will be a good platform. So, I encourage any student who's listening to visit bbtsciencetemple.com. That's bbtsciencetemple.com. And also subscribe to the BBT Science Temple YouTube page and Facebook. And if you want to be notified, of course, anytime Sheik or any other nobles go live, make sure to hit the notification bell for alerts and updates. And then also, if you're interested in any books, if you're interested in the One World Tartarian, there are so many different subjects and chapters that the author hits on in the One World Tartarians. Tonight, for my melanated students, learning about misnomer, transatlantic slave trade, the Outer Africa theory. I just wanted you to have something else to compare it to when it came to understanding some of those things this year. So if you want this or anything else that you may be interested in on our websites, you can visit or email us at burningbushtabernacle.ts@gmail.com. That's burningbushtabernacle.ts@gmail.com. And I want to say again, thank you so much for everyone who tuned in tonight for our Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School. That is the BBT Holi Day Book Club reading. Much appreciated. Islam and love. And don't forget that this weekend we work out on Saturday and Sunday. And then we'll also be doing Saturday adapt class and our Sunday school. So let's see. I appreciate everyone for tuning in tonight. And I hope you got a little bit of something out of, the information, that we went over. So with that, man, I just want to say gratitude to everyone, peace and love to everyone. Be safe to everyone. Don't be afraid to know who you are. Don't be afraid to support those who look like you, who are trying to do the right thing for the community and really build and really grow. And, you know, with my time at the BBT and my time with Sheik Khari, you know, that's what the Burning Bush Tabernacle is all about. So, you know, if you're interested in being involved, don't hesitate to contact the Burning Bush Tabernacle. Appreciate you for tuning in to our BBT Holi Day Book Club reading. And with that, I'll leave us with our Moorish American prayer. And I hope everyone has a great weekend. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is our protector, our guide, and our salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Shalom Aleichem, Ayah Esha Ayah, Islam, Amen, peace, light, and illumination.
I'm a spirit speaking, truth seeking, heart reaching, knowledge leaking, seeds sowing, harvest reaping, man of meager means. I have yet.
mypdfbooks.com. That's books with a Z.
Once again, this broadcast has been brought to you by mypdfbooks.com. That's books with a Z, where reading fundamental. Also brought to you by bindedbooks.com, where treasures are bound. Be sure to get all of your teas at My Son's Teas, the tea of teas, divinely prepared at herbsofmyaunt.com. Be sure to check out all of those musical stylings by Brian Hicks Bay at bhbaymusic.com. For your everyday items and religious regalia, be sure to check out mooreshaberdasher.com. And for that everyday especial Moorish drip, be sure to check out moresachi.com. And all of these companies are powered by ALO Design Pros. Design your online business strategy today.
No such thing as failure, baby. Don't forget who made you. You can't be thinking minor when you